Hi, I'm Jeremy from Sparrowhawk 3D. In this tutorial, I'll show you how to make dynamic conforming clothing work in Carrara using my Cloth Deformer. First, it's important to note that most of the content in your library will not be suitable for use with my plugin. Partial dynamics may be possible on loose parts of the clothing, leaving most of the fitted costume to conform. This may be achieved by using the Dynamic Zones feature in the Fall Off tab. Clothing parts suitable for dynamics need to have a simple and regular mesh, especially for self-collisions to work. A thickened, double-sided mesh will have trouble with self-collisions. Conforming costumes typically have lots of modelled detail, including hems, laces, loops, and pockets. These will all fall off during the simulation. Conforming clothing often comes with a high-resolution mesh, which will be too slow to work with. I'm going to create a long, loose-fitting dress. Turn it into conforming clothing in DAZ Studio, then drape it onto a figure with my Cloth Deformer in Carrara. I'll model the costume for a Genesis 2 base female figure. Make sure the figure is zeroed before you begin to model. My recommended average size of the final mesh will be 1/2 to 1 inch. Working backwards from a final 3/4 inch or 2 centimeter mesh size, double that 3 times and get a starting cube of 6 inches. Subdivide 6 to get 3, subdivide 3 and get 1.5, subdivide one more time, and in the end we'll get 0.75. Turn symmetry on, then start to position, shape, and extrude the mesh. Try to keep the control points as evenly spaced as possible. Use the scissor tool to cut holes for sleeves. Pull the control points out until the costume is clear of the figure. Continue with more simple extrusions and adjustments. The costume starts to take shape. I'll add more vertices and links if the mesh squares are getting too stretched. I want to have a regular final mesh. Convert the subdivision to gain a higher level of detail, then make any finer fitting adjustments if required. Use the UV editing room to add seams and pins, and then unfold. Scale and adjust the texture coordinates for better results, and then apply the final level of subdivision and convert to get the desired 3/4 inch mesh. You must also triangulate the mesh when the costume is ready for the next step. Export the costume mesh from Carrara in OBJ format with the default options. Import the OBJ file into DAZ Studio using the From Carrara preset values into a scene with the same base figure the costume was modelled for. Using the Figure Transfer utility, select the base figure as the source and the costume mesh as the target. Parent the new costume onto the base figure, then select that figure to add the dress to the content folder as a wearable. You can use other methods or software, such as Poser, to create costumes for your figures. Return to Carrara, and in the browser, find the new dress in the Content folder. Bring it into the scene and fit it to the figure. If we pose the figure, the conforming dress works. But this is clearly where we want some dynamics. Add the Cloth Deformer to the actor of the conforming dress. You can use painted weight maps or sphere primitives to create dynamic and conforming zones. I'll insert a sphere and position it around the collar of the dress, where I want the vertices to conform. Hide the sphere, then switch to the Fall Off tab in the Cloth Deformer. Add the sphere to the Conform Zone list. With the Show Weights option checked, we can see the conforming parts shaded black to white. In the Collisions tab, set the dress to collide with the actor of the figure, and adjust the collision parameters to suit the scale of the mesh. The surface offset should normally be about half of the average mesh edge length. I'll now run a short drape test. In both animation or when setting up for a still, you will always need to drape from the zeroed figure pose. The drape test is okay. I can use it to adjust some of the simulation parameters based on the results. The costume is ready to test out in a longer animation. I'll include some props which need to be added to the collision list. I've run the simulation and it looks good, draping and folding nicely over the figure. But wait, something went wrong. There's a problem round about here. The bending shoulder and the side of the torso have come so close that the cloth had nowhere to go. Bends, especially at the armpits, elbows and knees, can give the simulator trouble. Always check the keyframes and between. Don't allow the joints to bend in on themselves or for body parts to move through or too close to each other. Designing for those trouble areas to remain as part of the conforming costume is one solution. I'll add some more conform zones around the armpits. After a rerun of the same simulation, the serious poke-throughs are gone, at the loss of some of the dynamics. I hope that you can understand the limits of my plugin and how to work within them to get results for yourself. You can use my Subdivider plugin to improve the final render. Thanks for watching.